Usually the only thing that drives me to go out is the stuff going on without me. That I'm missing out. But now we're in this world where there's nothing to miss out on. And I'm not missing anything. Nothing to miss. So why would I want to go out?
Enough intensive care beds, enough doctors and nurses. That is the moment of real danger.
Going out had become tough again before lockdown, funnily enough. Being off's not good for me, I know that. But then everyone was told to stay at home. What? Jackpot. I've been normalised without feeling a thing. Didn't hurt a bit. Unofficially, that's why I like that week between Christmas and New Year's, because no one's going anywhere or doing anything unless they're hardcore sales shoppers. I'm not odd for not going out. I mean, obviously I don't advertise the fact that I was relieved by lockdown. And I felt loads of other things anyway, so it's not strictly true. Scared, anxious, frightened, a sense of impending doom. All those feelings I have at inappropriate times, normalised. So normal, so natural of me. Just like everyone else in the world. Okay, let's say, here's an analogy. It's the closest I've come to explaining over the last 15 years. It's a bit clumsy, but just go with it. Imagine you are scared of water and you can't swim. And someone says to you, if you get into this tank, you'll be completely fine and safe and dry, but we're going to submerge you under the water and you have to stay there for 10 minutes. You've got oxygen and everything. You've been assured it's fine, but you've just got to survive 10 minutes and then we'll pull you up out and we'll give you 10 grand. 10 grand for 10 minutes, come on. You wouldn't do it because you'd be scared. You'd be frightened because you'd be thinking, well, what if there's a crack in that tank? Or what if the oxygen ran out and there'd been a miscalculation? Or what if the people who were responsible for pulling the tank up out of the water had been called away on another emergency and left you there? What if? And after about 100 what ifs, no, you don't even need as many as 100. After about 10 what ifs, you've convinced yourself that the fear you're feeling just cannot be overcome. You wouldn't do it. For 10 grand? No. For 100 grand? No. You wouldn't do it. It's not that I won't. It's that I can't. And that's agoraphobia. When you try and explain it to people, their natural inclination is to either try and reason with your fear or try and find ways to make you feel less scared. And generally, on the whole, people are well-intentioned. But how can you reason with something that's intrinsically so unreasonable, so irrational? I mean, we're not talking about the part of the brain that knows you can walk down to the end of the road and post a letter and you're absolutely fine and that nothing will happen. We're not talking to that part of the brain. We're talking to that other little teeny part of the brain, the little caveman part, the little illiterate, incomprehensible, irrational, overreacting part of the brain, the amygdala. I mean, he's there to help me survive. He's just trying to help me out. He's a lovable little guy. It's just, there's no reasoning with him. He's so trigger happy. Just wish he wasn't in charge of my adrenal gland. Now, actually, if I'm wishing for stuff, I wish I were an adrenaline junkie. If I was an adrenaline junkie, I would love it. I would be having the best time. I would love that feeling of a vice-like grip on my chest. I would get a thrill out of the painful, white, glaring, disorientating light that hits my eyeballs. I would get a real rush from the blood pumping in my ears. I would love the dizziness. The dizziness is the hardest thing. Because how can you carry on with what you're doing when your centre of gravity has just popped out for 5 minutes and you feel as vulnerable as a baby who's been plonked on the pavement flailing? You see, I'm torn between wanting to be completely inconspicuous and controlling and manipulating the attention I get. Well, I tend to veer towards the latter because I know the first is never going to happen. So I really focus on getting that good kind of attention. The good kind. For being funny, outspoken. Please don't look at me like I'm strange. Please don't look at me like that.
And I feel ridiculous. Nothing about me looks as fragile as I feel, and I am acutely aware that the sight of me bolting, jolting and swaying my way back into my front door with my legs locked tense like some great big wind-up toy, I know that looks ridiculous. Because that's not what panic attacks look like on telly. You get some beautiful girl suddenly stops still and stares at the ground and the sound fades out, or some attractive guy loosens his tie and they hyperventilate attractively. And everyone's like, quick, help them, somebody do something, get them a paper bag, let's get involved in this scene. Such seductive drama. No one would want to see what I look like in high anxiety. That wouldn't sell. They wouldn't televise that. There'd just be people at home blinking at their TV like, I don't really know what's going on. Kind of expression in their face. I've seen that look. I've seen little snatches of that look as I lurch towards a magazine on a rack in Sainsbury's. When will I get to go to Sainsbury's again? Do I even want to? should want to. I know I should want to. It's just something about supermarkets. The lighting, the patterned floors, the way the aisles stretch away from you. And then when you get to the cashier, to the checkout, what if you put all your shopping on the conveyor belt, then you're going to have to look fine for the cashier, and then but then, you know, I can feel that heat rising up into my face, and I start to feel faint. But if I faint, how can I get out? I can't leave all my shopping there. And if I fainted, I can't leave, and I just need to leave. I just need to leave. I remember at primary school feeling really dizzy in assembly. Yeah, agoraphobic and claustrophobic. It's almost as if this isn't rational, isn't it? And anyway, I was in assembly and I needed to leave. I felt like I really needed to leave, and I had seen other children do it before. They either picked a scab and were hemorrhaging blood down their knee socks, or they had a violin lesson. They just rose up out of the sea of cross-legged children, tiptoed their way to the end of the row to freedom. They did it all the time. I was going to do it. I was going to do it. I was going to leave. I'd be fine in the corridor. So I slowly built up the confidence to stand up. And as I turned to make my way to the end of the row, the head teacher said, "Jenna, are we boring you?" 400 school children turned to look at me. He had literally never done that before. Why now? Why me? I mean, he was a nice man. I didn't hate him. I think he said it jokingly. He looked like the dad from the Connect 4 box. I didn't hate him. But why me? So I just slowly lowered myself back down onto the ground. The blood drained from my tiny 9-year-old body. Numb, mortified, and sat trembling for the rest of assembly. When I'm trying to walk down my road, I still feel like I'm that tiny, even tinier, like a money spider catching a breeze. It's like I'm walking a high wire, and every instinct is telling me to slowly lower myself onto my front and drag myself along. And I just think maybe if I could crawl along the road, if this wall was higher, if those trees were closer to each other, when the sun isn't so bright, when the overcast sky isn't so oppressive, when it's not raining so hard that I can't catch my breath, when it's not so dark that I'll feel like I could be attacked if my house was nearer, if a friend was nearer, if I had something to hold on to, if I could just be brave enough